All right. There we go. We figured we'd drop in for another little episode of Tap Talks.
What episode number is it, Tim?
Episode 002.
Mr. Zero.
0002, because we're going to do
at least
1,000.
Yeah, at least 1,000.
If we can put over 1,500 different beer on tap in 2.5 years, how long is it going to take us to do 1,000, whatever this is? It's not a podcast. We're not doing a podcast. This is literally
Tap Talks.
It's Tap Talks.
Talking about the taps.
Yes. So shenanigans aside, let's get into this. What time is it? It is
9:34 in the morning.
9:34 a.m. Perfect time for a beer at the Barley Merchant because I guess not everybody knows that the Barley Merchant exists within a space-time continuum. Therefore, it's 12 o'clock somewhere, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, actually really has no bearing here because it's always time for a beer.
It can't stop us.
Yes. No, absolutely not. So you lined these up. I can't remember which one was which.
We're going to start on that side.
Okay.
We've got a brand new brewery called Beva being featured. And I'm just going to go right off the bat and say cheers.
Cheers.
So we'll taste first. This is called the Fresco.
To Tap Talks number 2.
Tap Talks number 2.
Yeah.
000.
0002, yeah.
And that is just refreshing. So it's I'm going to read the little.
Called it Refresca.
Refresco. It's called Fresco. Beva meaning drink in Italian. Everything's got kind of a little bit of an Italian vibe going on so far. And this one, their tasting notes have a refreshingly light, tart farmhouse wheat ale, brewed and conditioned on lemon peel and juice, fermented with our house mixed culture of saison yeasts, which is kind of Beva's thing, is doing mixed culture fermentation, lots of saison.
Yeah, they have blending in their name, don't they?
They do.
Beva Brewing and Blending.
Blending.
From what I know about Beva is that I think they're still like the most recently opened BC craft brewery, and they're in North Vancouver.
They are.
And what do we know about the fine gentleman behind brewing the beer?
Octavio, who is a very, very, very talented guy, used to work at a place in Alberta called Snake Lake. And then he's worked at a bunch of other places around here in BC. And then him and his lovely partner, Morgan, who I met, she came here for our off-flavor tasting event.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. And they used to be at studio, and then we met them out there.
Beer.
Yeah, that was awesome. And they are just both totally brilliant and make ridiculously clean tasting beer. This is something special. The fact that this is the first, not their first beer they've made, but when a brewery first opens and they're starting off this strong,
it's actually a great breakfast beer at 4%. It is light, and the lemon is just nice and subtle in there. There's like little tiny spice notes in there, but refreshing is absolutely a word that comes to mind when I take a little sip from that. And so I'm assuming like Fresco, that it's like fresh, right? Fresh lemon, Fresco.
And one last tasting note. I just want to say the word quaffable.
Quaffable?
Quaffable.
That's a fantastic word.
How many points in Scrabble would you get for quaffable? I feel like that's a decent amount.
If you ran that across like a triple letter, triple word, that's a lot of letters.
It is. So for all you Scrabble players out there.
There you go. Somebody do the math and put it in the comments. If it was the Q was on a triple letter score and it was a triple word score, we want to know what that total is. Cool. Well, great way to start off the tasting there. And shout out to Octavio and Morgan at Beva. Congrats on opening. And thanks for letting the Barley Merchant be one of the first places to get your delicious beer on tap. All right. So the next one, this was one of my choices here. So this is Thank You Honey Lager from our friends at Locality Brewing. Locality Brewing is right here in North Langley. They are, I think I clocked it, about 12 kilometers away from us. They are out on a 95-acre farm. It's truly one of the most unique experiences you could ever have. Heading to a BC craft brewery, you can sit at a picnic table by the pond, and it's beautiful. They have this building where you can go inside if it's a rainy day, and there's something really peaceful about sitting there sipping on a beer. A little bit of music playing, and the pond and nature, and like it's a working farm. Like they grow all their own barley. A ton of barley on the property. I've been there for a threshing, which was really cool. I've actually gone there with my wife, and we planted some hops, some Comet hops. So they're doing that. And so this particular beer is called Thank You. So this was the very first beer that they introduced when they opened up, and Locality actually opened up about 2 weeks after the Barley Merchant opened up. It was a journey that we shared together. There was a lot of chilly nights sitting inside the empty shell of the Barley Merchant before construction started with Mel and Andy, sipping on little versions of the homebrew and fantasizing about what it would be like when our businesses were open. But at the same time, it was a pandemic and places weren't open, and it was scary as all hell. But we went through it together. So I have a really fond kinship with them. They're great friends. And this particular beer, again, Thank You Honey Lager. I'm telling way too many stories.
We got to cheers first. I want to keep drinking it.
To Mel and Andy.
Drink until I cheers them.
So what I love about Thank You Honey Lager, and this beer is on tap here full time at the Barley Merchant, is that all of the ingredients are actually from the farm. So the hops are grown there, the barley is grown and malted. I didn't mention that part.
Yep,
they actually malt their own barley. Andy is like a magician wizard. The system he has built for doing it is pretty intricate and wild, and to be able to create a product like this is pretty fantastic. And the honey's from the farm too. They have like a little apiary there, and they have a secondary business called B Ingredients. And it's just great. It's smooth, it's crushable. It's one of the beers that whenever someone that just comes to the Barley Merchant and says, hey, I'd love to have just like a Budweiser. And we're like, yeah, we don't sell macro beers. But if you like something that has a nice, clean, crisp flavor profile, and you're not necessarily a big, when you think craft beer, you think big, hoppy, malty, chalky, whatever, thick beers. This is not one of those. This is clean, crisp, has a nice little sweetness from the honey, and it's delicious.
It is. I think my favorite part about Locality is you can never see it all in one visit. Every time you go, you find out it's almost like by a rumor of like, well, did you go to this part of the brewery? And you're like, what are you talking about? Oh yeah, I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's a large property with lots of surprises on it. So it's worth going back.
Yeah, there's a lot of filming that happens on their property, and I'll give away one little spoiler. So when you show up and you roll up and you go to the brewery, when you're looking at the front of the brewery, you wouldn't know that if you walked all the way around to the back of the brewery, you're actually be looking at a mountain with a cave with like rail to drive like a rail car into like a coal mine or something. It's super, super, super rad. All right, so that's Locality. Thank You Honey Lager, one of the mainstays on tap here at the Barley Merchant. All right, all the way to Kelowna, I believe we're going to now, right?
Yes. Next up on our list, this is tap number 30. I'm going to cheers you first so you can just dive in. Called The Snuggle Is Real by Unleashed. Oh, that just is so nice. Oh, right in the morning. Just
what am I? That's the.
So this falls under the Maple Winter Warmer, or like a winter ale style beer. Once again, I'm going to read you their little description. A beer to warm your soul. The smell of winter spices, reminiscent of cozy winter nights, snuggled up in front of the fire. The first sip brings a sweet malt backbone, smoothing out the spice with a hint of Madagascar vanilla and cinnamon, followed by a healthy dose of maple. And this was a big hit in their tap room. And one of my favorite stories from talking with these guys was how they finally allowed dogs in their actual brewery. But the problem was their name is Unleashed, and people would like unleash their dogs. So if you go there, your dogs are welcome, but you have to keep them on a leash.
Yes.
Despite it's being called Unleashed, dogs inside the brewery should be leashed. And that's always fun. I always like going to a brewery, being able to pet a bunch of random people's dogs. And it just feels more like a little community, little home. And this definitely feels like just snuggling up to a fire.
Yeah, totally.
Petting a dog.
I mean, when you think winter warmer, there's some famous beers that are brewed locally that may or may not be craft specific winter type ales, and they have a certain flavor profile. But I feel like this one is a lot more refined. The maple adds a really nice sweetness to it, and
very Canadian.
It's
the most Canadian thing I think you could.
Canadian winter in a glass.
Yeah,
I like it.
And yeah, it's on the sweet side, but it's not overly sweet, which is I find a challenge with this style in general. It's not get it overly sweet.
Yeah. So shout out to Unleashed Brewing up in Kelowna. The other little thing with them is that all their beers, they kind of reference like dog names. Do you have any off the top of your head that you recall from
Oh yeah, if it's not a dog reference, like they had one, all dogs go to Hefeweizen, which I think is just a great name for a beer.
Clever.
They had one, Jakers was named after one here. I'm gonna pull another one up. They have Mystical Manu, Samson, the Walter.
Oh yeah, we just had the Boxer Pout Milk Stout from them as well.
The Dog Haze of Summer. They've all been great. They're relatively new to our tap list, and they're one of the smaller breweries that we just kind of have to wait for them to take a road trip down to get their kegs here. Yes. And we always say we'll take, something cool and fun and fresh, and then we get the empties back out that way.
Yeah.
The slow way.
So that's actually something just from to speak to the way that we curate our taps. Obviously, we have a lot of craft breweries right here in the Lower Mainland. I think there's somewhere around 90 between like Hope and the Sea to Sky. And then beyond that, a lot of the breweries don't have distribution down here. But every once in a while, we're lucky enough, like a Barn Owl, great example. They'll just give us a shout and they're like, hey, we're headed down to the coast. We got to come pick up some cans or some product, or they're coming for a beer festival or something. They send us a picture of their tap list and they're like, what can we bring you? So if there's any other breweries out there that you're like, well, I'd love to be on tap with the Barley Merchant, but we don't get to town very often. Let's figure it out.
We got
come on by.
Some upcoming island brewery that's going to be carpooling with someone. So no spoilers. Yeah, we'll wait for it actually to get here. But we have another new one coming up soon. So keeping.
That'll be 141, 142,
maybe 143 by then.
Yeah,
we've got some new people coming on tap. We're excited.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Last but not least, we really wanted to keep these a little bit more short, but we tend to ramble because we have stories to tell because we are storytellers here at the Barley Merchant. Okay, last one here. This one. Cheers, Josh. Have at her.
Cheers.
I'm going to take a little quick sip. This is Trading Post Brewing's Blackberry Wheat. And so Trading Post, when they first came out with a fruited wheat ale, they have their raspberry wheat ale in the summertime. And it was the very first beer that I ever think that I used the description of dangerously crushable. So 7.5%. In the first episode, I mentioned that if I like to have a fruit beer, I definitely want something with a little bit of punch. Trading Post always delivers on that. And I wanted to include the Trading Post beer in the flight this week because this Saturday is actually Trading Post's 8th anniversary. And if you look at their beer can, it's one hand with 8 fingers on it. That's kind of been their tradition.
I can't wait to see how many.
I'm pretty sure that when they get to the question will be is when they get to 10 years, is it 2 hands? No. Or is it one hand with 10 fingers?
It's got to be one hand with 10 fingers.
Would you just add a thumb at some point? A second thumb? I feel like that's it. If you see 2 thumbs on one hand with 8 individual fingers, that was my idea.
Okay.
Yeah. So Trading Post Brewing, I was actually there on opening day, and I've only missed one of their anniversary parties. They have an anniversary party this Saturday at the brewery down on 64th in Langley, and I will be popping in there at some point. They got live music all day, and they're releasing, I think I saw a Belgian quad. So,
their Belgian beers are always really good. Too.
Yeah. Yes.
Big fan. But this is, absolutely fantastic. Perfect little winter fruit beer.
Yeah. Let's go. All right. So that's it. I know the first one we posted. By the way, if you watched all the way to the end of this, shout out to you and thank you so much. We're just having fun. The whole idea of Tap Talks here is to do exactly that. Give you a little bit of background on the breweries, talk about the specific beers that we have on tap, and all of these are on right now. So we might even throw the Tap Talk flight on so people can actually come and try these 4 beers together.
While supplies last.
Because they're always changing.
Yeah, no guarantees.
Limited quantities.
Yeah, we'll try our best. People like to drink beer around here.
Give it our best go to keep them on.
You know when you said a hand with 2 thumbs, I imagined having a thumb war with itself, and I was just...
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really...
Okay. Well, on that note, I'm Tim.
And I'm Josh.
And that was
Tap Talks. I was going to say, we forgot to do the intro.
Yeah. Well, that was an outro instead. We did an outro.
And then the credits play?
Maybe I'll throw that at the beginning and really mess with people.
Because the beers will all be lower and then back up.
What if I just played the whole thing backwards and it was like we were just putting the beer in our mouths? Or no, I mean from the glass.
Cheers.
Right. That was what happens when we have beers at 9:45 in the morning.